Okay, hey, happy Friday, everyone. And thank you so much for joining me and my amazing guests today, Andrea and Kenneth. I do have to say, the sun is shining, always shining on Friday. So, Andrea and Kenneth are both with Open Communities, and we've been discussing how important fair housing is over the last few months. I'm grateful for both of you to be here. And Andrew and Kenneth work on the outreach side of the call it business. The so let's start with, what does the outreach do? What does that mean? Let's start with
Well,
you,
first of
Andrea.
all,
Oh,
thank
Kenneth.
you. First of all, thank you very much for having us, Ms. Phillips. It's an honor for us to speak to you and the viewers. Um, so, directly to your question, outreach is simply about creating and maintaining relationships with stakeholders in the community as it relates to informing communities about their rights with regard to housing and housing counseling services. So we do everything we possibly can to try and inform people that organizations like ours exist uh, when they find themselves in need of understanding their laws with regards to housing, against discrimination, and understanding that there is help when they need assistance in housing counseling services. And that can range from anything from financial coaching for people who are thinking about buying a house or even renting a home. We do workshops in housing counseling, pre and post purchase for first time home buyers. We do eviction prevention. We do emergency rental assistance, mortgage modification, loan modification. We do mediation. We also do help people with foreclosures. We help to try and educate landowners as well, landlords, with regards to knowing their rights and their responsibilities to their tenants. We help to try and mediate, conflicts between landlords and tenants when, sometimes those relationships tend to stray, and it could get messy, and sometimes landlords and tenants, for that matter, don't know that there is counseling services that exist to help them know their rights, first and foremost, their responsibilities to each other, secondly, and that there are ways to go about resolving conflicts that doesn't have to end in, someone getting kicked out of their homes, or, landlords having to live with a sense of discontent, right? So, and most importantly, we do our best to try to reach people the most underserved in our communities with regards to housing, and that happens to be Black women and families, Spanish speaking communities, the immigrant communities. They tend to suffer in ways that doesn't always afford them access to our services. So that's what we do, and we try to do that as best we possibly can with the resources available to us.
So that is great. So let me bring it into I'm a mom and I've got two kids, and my husband is beating me, and I got to get out and protect these kids. I don't know what to do. I can call you guys for some guidance. Is that the kind of scenario? Or I lost my
Yes,
job and I don't have anybody to watch my kids and I'm trying to make the rent, but
yes. So to speak directly to that scenario, uh, so the immediate housing counseling needs in that scenario is, okay, I need to find a place to stay. So then they will call Open Communities. We would put them in we would put them in contact with one of our housing counselors. Our housing counselors would assess them, what their immediate needs are. We would meet their immediate needs through our housing counseling services. And those needs that we can't meet directly as a direct service agency, we connect them with resources to get those needs met. So that includes temporary housing shelters. That includes connecting them with services that deal directly with domestic violence issues. And people can trust that the people that we direct them to, we have meaningful relationships such that they can get the help that they need.
Okay, I'm going to just say that is the most important thing, because who knows where you're supposed to go? I mean, it's not like every day you're a battered woman. You get into a situation and then all of a sudden you're there and you feel totally isolated and you don't know who to trust. You trusted this guy in the first place, that you ended up with him, and now it's a disaster. That is so important. So you really are a trusted resource. And I want to say that again, that you've been through the mill 100 million times. You know who's on the up and up. That's important.
And that trust goes a long way. That's why it is important that we build relationships with community partners who themselves have developed trust in communities, that they have a reputation of knowing I can go here and get the assistance that I need. So we are trying to be more strategic about how we develop relationships with community partners. There's one thing to have a partnership on paper, if you will, right? It's a whole nother other thing to build relationships. And that trust factor is the thing that we pride ourselves on in our outreach initiatives.
I love that. That is exactly, anybody can go, okay, here's a list, call these people on the list. And that's not, you can't even get into a doctor today with that. You know, it's all, the more technical we get, the more we really need those connections and those interpersonal strong relationships. Otherwise, you're just a number in a mass. So I love that you guys do that. So, you know, we can go on. What are, you know, Andrea, I don't know if you want to address your area where you differ a little from Kenneth.
So I am the outreach and communications coordinator on the fair housing side. So with fair housing, we still do outreach, and I work together with Kenneth, just making sure that everyone knows about the services that we provide. Specifically on the fair housing side, what we do is we try and go out there and educate these property managers so they know how to stay on the right side of the law when it comes to fair housing, right? Then we also try and coordinate these presentations that we're doing right now in Fair Housing 101 so community members know about their rights. We do that for property managers, and we do that for clients as well.
Okay, so that's great, because I know as a realtor, people, especially in the climate we're in where housing is scarce. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had people out and out tell me, well, I'm renting to who I like. Well, I don't know that that's exactly fair housing. You know, they look at them and then they decide whether they like them or not. And I out and out ask somebody, well, what's your criteria? And he goes, I don't have to tell you my criteria. I just pick what I want. Well, that's the kind of thing we need to guard against, I would think.
Right. And one of the things that I will say is that we are very open to answering any questions that realtors have. We want to make sure that they know that they can contact us for any questions, and we will help them with resources or any guidance to stay on the right side of fair housing.
Is there, and I'm throwing this out there, this isn't on our list, I don't think, but are there any laws out there that are being looked at to help in this area of fair housing? I mean, were we just stuck with what we have, and are they strong enough? Are they good enough? Are they?
So I know that there's always additions to the fair housing law. I know recently we just had the just housing ordinance being added. So there's always things that are changing and things that are being added as protected classes as well. So we do want to make sure that when realtors communicate to us, we want to make sure that they know about these additions being added to the fair housing law.
Yeah, I'm sort of like the protected class sort of bothers me personally because, you know, I think everybody should be a protected class, that you can't discriminate for any reason. And if you don't have the money, that's one thing. Then, if you can't pay, but if you like short people, or you discriminate against fat people or green people or white people with short hair, I mean, and I get it. But they just shouldn't be allowed to discriminate, period. And if you only own one unit, you are allowed to discriminate. So that's another thing that's, I don't like that either. But of course, I don't run the world.
There are always both federal and state legal statutes that are being created to try to address problems that arise in ways that we see more readily and in ways that we don't always see, right? But one of the most important things about what we do on the ground is people get a chance to tell us. They get a chance to tell us about ways in which laws are being undermined, to benefit property managers and landlords. And landlords get to speak with us about ways in which tenants sometimes undermine certain legal responsibilities. So we don't, first of all, our organization, we don't provide direct legal services, but we do assist in directing people towards legal aid services. We try not to exacerbate these problems, right? We do our best to try to bring them to responsible mediation. And a lot of times we find out people just don't know that organizations like ours exist so that they can turn to for the help that they need.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm interested is learning about all of the ways in which President Biden's Build Back Better initiative is going to help resolve some of the sticking points with regards to housing. Now, I don't pretend to know or understand much about it. It's like a 2,000-page bill, right? So,
right.
Once we get a handle on that, we'll be able to come back and talk to people about what we've discovered that is in it to help advance our initiative that much more.
That is great. And yes, I mean, hopefully a few things will stay in there that'll help people for housing. Do you have financial assistance at all for people? One of you want to?
So right now, there are a lot of different emergency rental assistance programs that are popping up. So things are coming to us, and we want to make sure that everyone knows that there are these financial assistance available. So if they contact us, we would be able to connect them with these resources.
That's great. I bet people don't know that either. And are there special challenges you're seeing right now? I'm sure with COVID, and the immigration system, people coming out of Afghanistan. Are you guys, what else is happening down on the ground that maybe we should know about?
Well, funny you mentioned financial assistance, right? So rental assistance is a huge one that we're seeing across. Well, we serve Cook County, particularly Lake County, parts of DuPage County, most of the northern suburbs. However, we don't turn anybody away who's looking for services, right? We just connect them to services within their area. And all over the county, we're seeing people have these very pressing issues with rental assistance because the pandemic has exacerbated many problems that already exist, in addition to personal struggles and problems. And we're seeing this common theme with renters in particular, having difficult times just trying to make things work with their landlords. And the other challenge is that we see is being able to get access to the most vulnerable communities. Our services tend to do well with reaching, uh, mostly majority communities in our areas, but African American families, immigrant families, um, because they don't always know about our services, they the ones tend to be the most underserved. So those are the three challenges that we're meeting. There are several rental assistance programs that are running right now for Cook County and the state of Illinois that we are doing our best to inform people about. So we're inviting anybody, listening to, tuning in to this Zoom, to give us a call. So that if they are in need of rental assistance, give us a call. There are programs out there that are helping. It's not solving all the problems. We don't want to give that
No.
impression that we're going to solve all of the problems, right? But what little we can do, we're going to do the best to help.
Interestingly enough, there are people who like to say that, these programs are out there and people are taking advantage of them and blah, blah, blah. Quite frankly, the people who really need this money don't even know about it because they're not hanging out on, Twitter, and they're not, they're busy trying to figure out where the hell they're going to sleep tonight and what they're going to do with their kids and how they can put food in their mouths. They're not, they're not in the, so, it's a great problem. How can we reach these people through, I know I'm involved a little bit with building bridges for the immigrants coming in. I know, churches and synagogues are working on that as well. So I would think through the religious community would be a way to get to some of these people.
Yeah, they are one very trusted source, just given the trust that they have already built with these communities. Local social service community centers and community providers, they are another access. Health services, they are another access. School districts, libraries, they are all rich sites to tap into, because the people who work in those particular sites, they are the ones that's building the relationships with the folks on the ground. So they help us they direct us to where they are. And once we find out where they are, that's where we go.
I love that. And that is so interesting because trust is the main thing that's coming up here. That people, not only do they have these problems, and everybody has problems, but they have nobody they trust. And that's what I'm hearing. They're scared of everything because we live in such a complicated world. And they obviously, if they don't speak the language, or when your mind is saying you got to find food to feed your kids, you're not sorting out all these other things with your feet up on the couch. So I really am going to focus on this trust and how important that is. And I know with the vaccines, they keep saying the same thing, that people just don't trust it. They need to have the pastors, the people that they trust, speak to them. And I cannot thank you guys enough for what you do. You always have an open forum here. We're going to try maybe in a few months to get out even a bigger message. Because we got to get people to know what great work you're doing. People could just send a little bit of money to you guys or wherever and just get the word out is really what you need. So people can stay in the law. And one other thing, because you mediate, there's less anger and there's less fighting. and somebody's fighting with their landlord, then they're fighting in the grocery store, then they're fighting. If we can just keep the temperature down, it doesn't cost any money. It's just you guys to keep that temperature down.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't have said it better myself, Ms. Reynolds. Thank you for saying that. Our country needs that right now. We're still
that's
healing
right.
from a great divide, and just doing doing events like this, speaking to each other like this, building that personal connection. This is what we need in order to get to where we need to be. So thank you very, very much for having
Absolutely.
us.
You were so thankful for you guys. What you do is very difficult. I cannot even imagine. You need, I'll send you all good vibes. I can. And thank you for doing what you do. And we'll stay in touch. And then anybody who needs anything, get in touch with me in Open Communities. You guys are located in Evanston. Just Google Open Communities Evanston, and we'll find you guys will take care of just a warm hand too, and somebody bring a little peace. Have a very, very, very safe rest of your week, and we're all thankful I'm thankful that you guys could be here with me today. So
Thank you so much.
everybody have a good week. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.